All right. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Welcome to Terra Prime Live. I'm Darth Anonymous coming to you from TPA headquarters. And and we are here with Saber Talk tonight. So we have a few guests, people who are tuning in here with us. We'll kind of go through, talk about sabers, making them, what the new technology is, and some cool little things that are coming up in our future here. So with us tonight we have, I will start with our special guests here. We have Kyle Vaz, who is from Key Sabers. He is joining us tonight. How you doing, Kyle? Oh, yeah, gotta unmute there, and then we'll. Oh, no. There we go. Nope, no mute. Nope, still not unmuted. Haha. Here we go. Is that working?
Working.
There you go. Okay, so welcome to Zoomland. All right. So yes, welcome to the program, Kyle. How's it going?
Very good, very good. Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to chatting it up and talking about sabers.
All right. Yep. Here we are. So, and next up, we've got our guest of honor, our Saber extraordinaire, as I say, the Stradivarius of sabers, Darth Alice, coming to us from deep in the cave. Also with us tonight, we have John Solomon is joining us, Ben Judkins, of course, and we have two of our apprentices, Sarah and Javier, coming in from Ithaca Sabers. So welcome, everybody. We are looking forward to some good things. Now I got to figure out how to I got to figure out how to unpin all of these people here. Oh my goodness. That is a new feature that I'm not familiar with. Okay, so I'm going to continue to work on that here. And so there we go. I'm getting it there. Sorry, everybody. Okay, well, let us continue with the conversation here. So, with the sabers right now, one of the things that we are doing is, and we've got both you and Todd here, Kyle, to talk about kind of the two areas of sabers we're kind of most interested in, and that's the kind of highly customized ones, and then the well, I guess you'd call them beaters, the stuff that we use in combat, the stuff that will stand up to rigorous thing. Now, there is a middle ground, of course, and that we'll check in here with Todd here to talk about that, because he's got lots of stuff, and a lot of his stuff is both very, very awesome and combat ready, because I fight with a few. So, but anyway, so why don't we start with you, Kyle? We recently went in with you guys because the Persuader here is our first kind of official saber for the sport, although there will be more. Yep, Ben's got his too. Well,
I love mine. I have a bunch of them.
Oh, do you? Okay, yeah, I've got this one here. I've shown you this one, Todd. I'm gonna have Todd, and we'll go into two. Todd's got something else going to get a custom paint job on this sucker, which will be pretty awesome. But anyway, so Kyle, what do you guys, what are the as far as the things that people are fighting with, not just the stuff with us with the ASL, and all that kind of stuff, but tell us about about the sabers that you're kind of selling the most of and throwing out there.
Yeah, so when we first started, I had partnered up with a gentleman in Ingcha, which many people might be familiar with. He's been in the community for well over 10 plus years, and he was really doing a lot of custom stuff. So he was just behind the lathe, um, doing a bunch of custom orders, and he was getting, a little beaten down from sitting there doing that. And he wanted to bring in someone who could design something, help him get something into a CNC machine and punched out. And that's when I came along. So I was pretty much helping him with a lot of the CNC designs. And that's when we first came up with the Persuader together. And that was about maybe 2-3 years ago. And then a year after that, we came up with a all-in-one chassis system, and then we just pushed that out majorly this past year, and that's been a tremendous help. But what we've been finding most is, as far as from where I market to, a lot of the people come to me for sabers because they want something that's very easy, simple, very basic, and something that's just not going to break on them. There's a lot of products out there where, I don't want to mention names on other companies, because honestly, I've heard great things about companies. I've heard bad things about companies. We've personally had to, really ramp up and perfect the way that we built sabers, because we had a lot of repairs in the very beginning. Now with the all-in-one chassis system, I see little to no repairs, and even that had to go through their iterations, because the first iteration was disastrous for us. But a lot of times is we get people that just want a saber that's going to turn on, withstand heavy impact, and be able to be used and used again and used again and used again during competitions. So that's been the major sell point for us. Not only do we work with you guys, we also work with TSL members who do a lot of heavy dueling combat, and that's for competition. Many of our other customers are Saber Guild members, people that do fights for sport, for show, and they need something because they're one of the only Lucasfilm's recognized groups that will go out to certain events, do events for children, do events for children's hospitals, Comic-Cons, and they'll go out and they'll perform. So they need something that's reliable, that can be able to withstand heavy duty combat as well too. They're more of the artistic side. They actually train, and they work out fights. They do a lot of sparring together. But for what you guys do with actual live action combat, our biggest seller has obviously been something that can just withstand a lot of hits. So one of the main features that we have is a button on the bottom. So as you're combating, you don't accidentally turn on and off your saber. That's been a major sell point for us, is to actually place that button inside the pommel and have a deep blade socket. So that gives a lot of control to the sabers. So we have our Persuader, which has been our biggest seller. And then just this past winter, we released the Slayer, which is more of a two-handed modular weapon. It comes with a Suba. You can take the Suba off. You can modify it so it can be 13 inches up to 16 inches length. And this next spring, we're going to be coming up with another design. Going to be very similar to the Persuader, but a lot more modular too. So it's going to have a combination of both the Slayer and the Persuader. And hopefully we're going to get that one to 11 inches. Hopefully it can be, our goal is to slim it down to about 6.5 inches for a nice short offhand saber, and able to extend that out to maybe 14, 15 15 inches. We're not too sure on how we're going to, do that, what extensions we're going to add, but that's what we're looking for.
Cool. Yeah. I've been using the Persuader for a while. I know Ben has high praise for it. We like it because it's, again, very, very simple. The button on the bottom thing is something that me and Todd have been doing for quite some time. Because I remember my first katana, and this is probably a good segue to talk to you, Todd, here, because we mentioned the Suba, which, for people who don't know, it's the handguard here. Probably the guy most responsible for putting these Subas on lightsabers is Darth Alice here. He's got the quintessential katana sabers, the oblong or the oval handles with the flat sides, everything like that brought so much realism and feel to these types of things. Now, like I said, I have this one here that Todd made for me, which is my go-to now. I have another one which I'm getting upgraded. But Todd, you have been in this business for quite some time. How did you get into it? Bringing it up, and your stuff always has a very, very specific bent to it, right? You base so much of your stuff on real world weapons, on that kind of thing, and you bring that kind of real world craftsmanship to each of the hilts, to where I'll make a distinction between smiths and assemblers. So, but the point being, let me turn it over to you. How did you first start getting into the sabers way back when, and then give us a little history on the evolution of the katana saber and the quintessential kind of thing, which is so popular now. Oh, we got to unmute you. Wait, hold on a second. There we go. You should be. Oh, nope, not yet. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Actually, it kind of started out on eBay about, 11, 12 years ago. And I was looking around because I just remember lightsabers being, the plastic tubes with a flashlight hooked onto them. And I made one like in 1977 out of a broomstick and a flashlight handle in fluorescent paint. So I knew they had evolved, but then I started seeing custom stuff. And to tell you the truth, I got sucked in the Saber Forge's website because it was so well done. It always has been. I got sucked into Ultra Sabers and started planning on buying one. And I think I bought a stunt Ultra Sabers for like $70. And then after a week, I had to add a soundboard to it. And then it turned into, well, let's modify this with this old beat up drill press. And then I bought an old beat up lathe, and then I built the Proto Saber, which was like a corded version belt pack type saber. And then at some point I started playing with MHS parts and found 3-foot oval pipe off of eBay. And then that turned into a katana. And then over time, I just found more stock and just started building more and more of them. So I don't know, I've been building these old models for pretty close to 10 years now. In fact, this is Chad's original one, which
Yeah, there you go.
That's it. First one I built a stunt. You can see the little activation switch on the bottom with it. It's just got your basic little converter board. I think it's called. What was that? I can't remember what the name of them were. But then over time, I taught a few different people how to build sabers. I had a guy named Aaron keep asking me to teach him how to do installs because he lived close by. And then he started asking about machining. Well, then he turned that into a business called Solo's Hold. That's where he evolved from a guy that just picked a lot of the stuff I'm doing up off what I'm about. But he turned it into a CNC business and mass production. I'm still one of those guys that put them together the hard way by hours in front of the machine and then hours wiring them and then dealing with the finishes. And actually, a lot of things have been changing, and that I've been expanding the shop. And I'm excited to announce that we're now offering Cerakote, which is heat baked ceramic paint that you see on a lot of high-end rifles, a lot of high-end guns, high-end auto parts, but it's an ultra thin film. It's microns thick. And again, the color choices are crazy. Then over time, it just, again, everything evolved. And then of course, we all know when the cartoons came out, and it seems like Disney has always created the challenge, or Lucas has created the challenge, that for lightsaber smiths, oh no, we're not playing with Graflex anymore, just a pipe. Oh no, we're going to throw organic shapes at you. Well, they came out with Rebels, and the first thing I saw, I'm like, oh wow, look at that, Ahsoka Saber's got an oval shape to it. Then I sat down with my apprentice over multiple lunch meetings and Skype meetings. We finally figured out a way to curve it, and I just happened to have a Shoto sitting here. You can see you got the real mild curve. These are in for an upgrade. The hardest thing is take a perfectly good saber that nothing's wrong with it and have to upgrade it because the guy has to have string blades on the darn thing. But it kind of evolved, and now I get a lot of requests for people that want specialized, like this with the Suka Ito wrap. This is a little Shoto, and it's part of a Daisho set that I've got. So we've got both matching set here, long and short sabers. So again, it's just my business. I don't advertise. I've got a website. I don't ask people to buy my stuff. I've been doing this long enough where a lot of my work is repeat customers, just new people wanting something custom, odd, one-off built. To be honest, I would love to have just a production saber to be able to offer something simpler. And I do have my own CNC guys that I'm working with, and looking at doing another run of curved Ahsokas, which I've been working on, getting all that set up, and then also doing a run of V6 empty Kodas or slim Kodas, which are again the oval style with more of a slim Ram Koda front end.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah, oh yeah. I was gonna say that your Ahsokas, because I've been able to handle a bunch of Ahsokas. Different people's make it. Yours is the only one I would ever feel comfortable doing anything with. I mean, it's a pretty amazing piece of work that you have been able to get that particular saber down the way you have. And now, of course, with the new, we've now seen them in live action, you know. So
I'm kicking myself for not having 20 of them sitting here right now ready to go.
Oh yeah.
As we heard about Rosario Dawson here in the spring, I was like, I got to get on this, man. I got to start making curved sabers, but every other commission keeps getting in front of them.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, there's not enough hours in a day to do all this. That's why I wish I had somebody living close. I need a couple of apprentices or somebody that can just do a lot of just the odd little machine stuff that I do every day, or help me. Darn grandkids all moved 15 miles away from the house, and I never see them anymore.
Yes. So yeah, so there you go. We've got a couple of things now. We kind of mentioned a little bit that we're talking about. You mentioned that, you know, Ultra Sabers way back in the day, and if people remember, and I never actually was there during this, but PVC used to be the hilt choice, you know, the hilt material, right? And it's kind of all grown up from there. So now we've got the aluminum hilts, we've got all of this, you know, all of these kind of chassis now. I mean, I remember I still have some of the first sabers that I bought for classes here and stuff like that.
Hold on 1 second. You want to go to the way back?
Oh yeah.
That'll freak you out. Look at this. This is the original Corbin. First, wow. Look, John's got one sitting back there, probably, or a saber that works with it. The original first LED driver that we've seen put into a hilt. Now, this happens to be a new Golden Harvest V3. The size, they're the same. That's what blows my mind since I've been in this hobby, is how the technology changes every 6 months to a year. It's like something totally new.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hard to keep up with.
Do you have a saber with that in there? Oh,
I remember that one. That's right.
So this this is one of two hilts that were they're just powder coated aluminum that were milled and sold on eBay for like $100 back in 2004. I picked this thing up, and I had another hilt, my Katana Saber here, that Todd did the install and the finish work on, that I inherited from history. But Corbin, Joe was his real name, is a long time, like 25-year like personal friend of mine, and several of us have met him. He's been over at Todd's place a couple times, but so I got a board from him, and this was the first before I had Todd do the install on this. I had to like finish my Jedi trials and build a lightsaber. So I burned out 3 boards and 4 LEDs, including a fire at one point where my the board, as I was powering it up, flipped into my soldering sponge and exploded in flames. It was awesome. I mean, it was great. But the Saber works. It's functional. The battery's long dead. I haven't charged it, and since I haven't been doing anything with my lightsabers in years. But I got a feeling that this bad boy still working. So
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But
No.
yeah, so this just has a carbon or a Corbin ramping board. Basically, it ramps up the LED so it flickers as the blade lights up, and then it flickers as the blade goes down to give the optical illusion.
Well, I think that other one is the first katana built by probably the first ever lightsaber katana, and that was made by Doklo. And actually, that has like a Nano Biscuit V1 in it. The first series Nano Biscuit went in that thing.
And then with dueling, it had like a wagon wheel style Suba, and that got damaged. And then I had Todd milled and attached the Graflex tip for me, milled this whole new piece. And then Ryan Lannon at Ronin Armory did the acid etching on the brass for me.
Neat.
So.
Oh yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I've played with that Saber thing. It's like a dumbbell.
Yeah, it's the Suba's. It's nice because with the heavy grade blade, I like the balance. It balances it really well. It puts the balance in a good spot because the pommel Kashira is pretty solid piece of brass too. So.
All right. So yeah, that brings up a good point. He was talking about his Jedi trials. Now, with our knights, we don't necessarily make people build them from scratch, which may come in the future. I don't know. But we say that you should at least customize it a little, customize your saber so that it's yourself. But a lot of us do go ahead and make them. I mean, I have, where are they? These guys here that I put together for my camp, just these soul hold Padawan sabers here. And so I think some of us, at least I know Javier's done some, John, me, Ben, have you ever done any of the internal work on these guys?
Not by choice. I'm forced to fix things. I don't want to, but yes, it sometimes happens.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So we're
on which saber? On which one? I'm sorry.
Oh, this one here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I helped design that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of mine. Well, actually, one that I had a lot of design help on. Let's say that.
Yeah. Well, let's just say this: that Todd's fingerprints are all over the Saber world. That's to be said. So for those of us who do put them together, right? I don't know, thoughts on where things have been going, right? Because like we said, just with chassis alone, we've got tons of it's so much easier, right? You don't have to worry too much about your cram foo, right? With these all-in-one systems that are coming out, that I know that you and you, Kyle, do. I know we've done a couple, Todd. If because I've been, fiddling around inside them for a while, and you can see that. What do people think of, like, how things have? I don't know, maybe how things are changed, but what are we looking at with making these? What does it take now, to make one of these? Because it's actually it's much easier than it used to be.
I mean, I can chime in. When I was working with Chow for a while, because he had me under pretty much an apprenticeship for maybe about, I don't know, 6 to 8 months before I got my first couple of clients, and so I was doing them all by hand on the lathe. And for those that wanted something that was, simpler, we would just toss them the persuader, wire it up. But wiring, that was always, I mean, excuse my French, pain in the ass. It was always there was, if anyone's ever wired up a Saber, which I'm pretty sure Todd can probably chime in on this, there's always one or two Sabers where no matter what you do, no matter how many times you take it apart and rebuild it, there's always something that just goes wrong. And you don't know whether it's the hilt, you don't know whether it's the LED. It just, something always happens where you turn it on and it works great, and then it flickers for 2 seconds and you're like, oh yeah, let's take it open again. Things have definitely gotten a lot simpler. It's crazy. I mean, I've seen the community, just in the small time that I've been in it, go from, and this was when a lot of the newer sequel movies came out, when episode 7 was out, and there was a lot of people that were messaging me personally saying, hey, listen, how do I do this, how do I do that? And we were kind of just all helping each other out. And that's one thing that I actually really do love about the Saber community is, as long as you have a Facebook or social media, there's always someone that's willing to at least show you, to help you out, to say, hey, you can use this, which resistor should I add on this, which LEDs might be the brightest, should I go with the tri-crease, stuff like that. Things have definitely changed a lot now that the pixel blades have kind of come back, because they've always been a thing, the LED strips, but now they've just come back and been a lot more able to withstand combat. I mean, I personally still don't trust them doing heavy grade combat, but for a lot of people that do a lot of shows, that do a lot of performance, they look great, they look awesome. You can do a lot of customizations with them. So things have gotten simpler, but things have also gotten more advanced, because a lot of the sound cards back in the day, you had one sound, a few flashes, and and now it's like, I was trying to I was customizing for myself a Profi board, and just looking at all the settings, and I'm like, I don't even use half of this stuff. You have drag, you have you can do multiple blaster it's absolutely insane, the amount of customization that you can do now. It's crazy.
Yes, very true. And so, of the non-professionals of us, right, our experiences, because that's the other thing that we all tend to do, is getting an empty and then kind of installing it. And I know,
Well, to interrupt, that's really where I see the hobby is really going these days. I mean, there's a few guys that still want a fully installed, all balls to the walls, everything, crystal chamber installed Saber. But more and more, with all the different boards and all the different Facebook groups, and with Profi now too, it's like the ultimate nerd toy. It's like, you get a Saber, you get an empty Saber. Well, shit, there's 1,000 different blade profiles. There's hundreds of fonts you can choose from. You can customize it if you really want to spend hours on a computer. It's perfect for the do-it-yourselfer. And plus, I mean, Shapeways changed the whole hobby too, because when I started out, chassis didn't exist. Everybody was just cutting up pieces of PVC, and like Rob Petkow of Genesis. Here, he was the first one. Here's a piece of gray PVC. It's a chassis, and look, it holds a speaker.
Right.
And then it got to the point where we started carving them out of Delrin, because that was the next step. Carve them out of Delrin. I had, especially with the oval hilt idea at Creative, to be able to, because there wasn't anything available. And that's when I hooked up with Ryo, and Ryo started hooking me up towards creating chassis systems. And we all know about Ryo. He's took off from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the hobby. That's what I see it as now. I think it's really getting more and more to be the do-it-yourself, or really for the mainstream. It's people that want to build them themselves so they can feel like a real Jedi and they finish the task.
Yeah. I think with Galaxy's Edge being a good example of that being turned into an attraction.
So I also have a Padawan, again, asset etched by my buddy Ryan, but I have the chassis. I have a board, a prism, I think it was. I got the whole kit when I ended up getting this from Soul's Hold. So I have everything I need, except for like the desire to sit down with my over expensive soldering iron I bought specifically for this project, and the time to do it, to sit down and get it all wired in. But it's certainly, that's one of the things I was really looking forward to, is like, oh, I'll do this one, and then I've got another empty one, and that old Ultra Saber one that just kind of broke. It was like, well, I'm going to redo that, and it's like, I'd really like to have a one with a NeoPixel now for trooping for the Rebel Legion. When I don't need to fight with it, and I don't have to worry about the blade break, and I'll get a nice, and I can do all kinds of cool stuff with the blade and switch it for whatever color I want, whichever costume I'm wearing. And, as this goes down the list, then, like Todd said, that's the,
Well, I mean, that was the whole idea behind that Padawan in the first place, because originally I drew a blueprint for it, and I proposed it to Aaron. I go, here, man, this is our target model, the Vader's Vault Havoc. They sell a ton of these things. They're relatively simple. It's a tube. It's a tube with a switch. And I go, the best thing to do, if we want to come up with something that a lot of people will buy, it'll be cheap, scalable, where you can stick pretty much any board system in it. It'll fit an 18650 and a full-size speaker. And you can, you got the recharge port and a whole chassis system. And God knows, he's probably sold a couple thousand of those things by now, I would think. But it was just the formula was there. It was simple. It was relatively easy for somebody that's done a couple Saber installs to put together. And the chassis was thought out. It was just all one-shot package. Even though myself, I hate 12mm switches with a passion. Don't ask me why. I just really can't stand them, because they don't look like anything Canon. And then also just the way the switch was set up and hooked into the LED module was kind of funky too. So that's stuff I wouldn't have done. But main point being, it's again scalability. Somewhere it's easy for a guy to sit back and be able to install it and say, look what I built. I made this. So my 2 cents.
I think a lot of the community changed over when 3D printers became readily available. Thank you. I mean, 3D printing has always been something. It's always been out there for a lot of years, but it's always been like within the thousands. Like only the best of the best, or people that are in like doing silicon and doing any type of boards or circuits would have the availability to even do 3D printing. But now, I mean, me personally, I picked up a 3D printer for a little under $200, and that's what's been cranking out a lot of the all-in-one chassis for me, and that's been crazy too, because once people have an empty, I mean, I've had people who've purchased empties from me, and I have to I started second guessing, saying, hey, are you sure you want this one? Because you have to build your own chassis with it. Be like, yeah, I have a 3D printer. I've already been, mapping up designs for the Saber. So I'm like, all right, go right ahead. And people have been coming out with, designs based off of, my empties. And I've seen other people post stuff, and it's crazy what people can do now just with a $200 3D printer. And that's all you need.
Yeah. And like Yeah, and like Todd said, Shapeways too. If you don't have access to a 3D printer and you can't buy one, um, I mean, you can go on Shapeways and do quite a lot. I know my a friend of mine who we're working on a Saber project as well. Um, but he's from like high tech things, and he says 3D printing has changed the entire thing, because for a component that would usually cost him $150 and take 3 weeks to get, it takes a couple of days and costs him like 15 cents. So there's all kinds of that. Well, so you mentioned an interesting, or actually there's a question here. We've kind of been talking a little bit about that kind of thing, about how more people are getting into this. And we've noticed that because a lot of people who are into the Saber community and, are very, very into it, they do kind of want to get into this and start building. And I think that's a good thing. I think that the more of us that we get into, into the weapon itself, I think that will behoove the entire technology. Now, Ben had an idea, and we are going to be kind of launching this here pretty soon, because we have somebody mentioned asked the question that what would be good electronics to get in, like if you have an old Ultra Saber like this that doesn't work. There's, I know for these guys there, it's usually a broken battery pack, something like that, or a short in the wire or something, right? But what could you do to put into one of these things? Now, I think this is probably very similar to the one that you, Todd, used when you made the
Proto Saber.
yes. So you can do a lot. I mean, this is essentially like a blank now.
Actually, it was one of these.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, the Prophecy.
Gotcha. Still an Ultra Saber. There you go. But anyway, the point stands is that you can do this. So what we are thinking of doing is, well, why don't I hand it over to Ben? Ben, why don't you talk about kind of what we've got in the works?
Okay, well, as near as I can tell, the one silver lining of 2020 and the lockdown is that everyone in the country has been forced to watch practically all of Forged in Fire. So everyone, including my 70-plus-year-old mother, is now an expert in knife making. I love it, right? I love seeing that kind of engagement with material culture and martial culture. But we haven't quite gone far enough, because we don't just need Forged in Fire, we need Forged in Kyber. And we think that would really be a great way to get some of these basic, electronics skills and maintenance skills and installation skills going in the lightsaber community, particularly in those parts of the lightsaber community, like us, that are kind of less oriented towards makers and collectors and more oriented towards martial artists and users, to get those sorts of people interested in making their own sabers. So yeah, I mean, we're thinking about coming up or putting together a web-based show for TPLA that might be called something like Forged in Kyber or something like that, where we would have a variety of different events. Let's say in one we would distribute a whole bunch of Ultra Saber empties to say 4 different people, give them a set budget, and then see what they can come up with in terms of their own custom install, right? And have a couple different rounds of judging where we're going to judge their sabers, both for durability, obviously, because that is really important in a combat class saber, but then also kind of the quality of the work that we're doing. And again, we hope that a project like this can get more people interested in it. At Ithaca Sabers, I have Javier here, who's one of my apprentices who makes a lot of his sabers. And then we have a couple of other guys, 2 brothers, Jake and Eli, who are just wonderful at making like junk shop sabers. That they go antiquing, they come back with flashlights from the 1940s or 50s, right? And they're turning these retro flashlights into sabers, right? And again, that's the kind of activity that we would like to promote and that you can just have so much fun with. But we don't really think that we have seen quite enough of it, quite as much engagement in, the martial arts side of the community as we would like.
Yes. And there's going to be more involved in this than just that, because people who are watching it and stuff like that, we want to give people skills, even the people that are watching it. So, whatever we do, we're not exactly sure on exactly everything that's going to happen in this, in this thing, in the series, but you should see it in a couple of weeks where we'll put something together and, kind of present it out there for everybody. So stay tuned for that. But that's the whole idea, is to get people kind of more involved in that, and like literally involved in that. So for like shows like here, we have Todd, we have Kyle, we have these experts. We want to give people a chance to even, mingle with people like that. And so that you can get kind of stuff like that, because there's, like we said, there's a lot now that we can do, and seeing what people kind of come up with is something that I think is going to be fun, and
Plus, you're so much less likely to burn your house down putting together a lightsaber than trying to forge a sword in your garage. So,
absolutely, yes, it's a much safer thing. Well, I mean, unless you're going to lathe the thing from beginning, and then if you make sure that you have your power sources all set.
Well, that's the point I'm trying to get to too, is again, to be able to offer empties, but I've got all the 3D printed parts right there on Shapeways that you can order that stuff from.
Yeah, absolutely.
So pretty much you want a crystal chamber, well, that module is available. It's pretty much all there. And then offer them in such a way where, because a lot of people want to decorate them too. I mean, you've got a couple guys out there like Snyderman that's acid etching stuff. I mean, he's doing double and triple etches, and it looks fantastic. And on top of the powder coat working that he does too. So people like that too, they like having something again where they can send it out and get it customized, or have that in-house too, where if something, again, somebody wants some kind of odd color, some kind of an odd etch, it's available.
Yeah.
But to me, ideally, I would just like to be able to sell a bunch of customs and really not rely on commissions. Just have a bunch on stock, toss them up on the website, and bam, 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 sell that stuff. Because we all know how much of a pain in the ass a commission really is. Yes. I mean, anybody that's, you got something stretching out 6 months, 7 months because there's a delay with this. Oh, hey, look, my electronic manufacturer doesn't manufacture electronics anymore. Shit. I mean, there's so many things that can happen that can trip you up in the middle of a commission. I mean, I ran into one where it took me over 6 months for the guy on the West Coast to etch for me. I lost 6 months on a job right there because I'm waiting on him to etch a couple simple pieces for me. Mm-hmm. So it's gotten to the point these days where I would rather myself just crank them out where, hey, here's a bunch of stuff for sale. Oh, you want a set of Ahsokas? Well, here's my website. They're completed. They're ready. They got a set of Profis on them. Here, buy them. Yeah. It just seemed like it'd make life a little bit easier that way.
Yeah. So with the industry, or the industry, the field being there, people can get that now. So Javier, you put together like little PVC things, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you use for those things?
So first off, the reason that I use PVC is because in my house, I don't have the space to have a shop. Because if I would have the space to have a shop and have those machines, I'll be using different aluminum and steel aside from PVC. So it's easier for me to build it with PVC. So basically, I do it two different ways. I either just grab a piece of PVC. I also use metallic duct tape and other colored duct tape just to make a design. And then actually buy bulbs, LED bulbs. I have wire. I have battery packs, which I take out of the dollar store, flashlights. I take the battery packs out of there. I have a solder with the helping hands, and I solder everything together and build it like that. obviously I always buy a switch as well. And then the other way that I do it is to grab just a piece of PVC, cut it, maybe put one fitting, a retaining screw with the blade, and I just use the LED flashlight and basically use cement adhesive and do it there, and then the switch is down below, and then I just turn it on, and then that's it. It's as simple as that. And then actually I found that even these dollars LED flashlights are brighter than the white Sabers from Ultra Sabers, which some people in Ithaca Sabers class have, because I brought them to the class and we turn them on, and this bulb is brighter than the Ultra Sabers one, the white one at least.
Yeah.
And the bulbs that I get them from Amazon. They come in blue, white, green, white, and red. They don't have any blue. If I have to get a blue one, will have to be a different type, because the type that I get from Amazon, it's like this. They have like a bucket full of things. And of course, I have bought battery packs before as well. Let me see if I can find.
The thing that Javier is working on with these bulbs that is really cool is actually not sabers, where he's making lighted pels, like a lightsaber based pel as a training tool. So a pel is a striking post, that you use in lots of martial arts traditions. But Javier is making like a big thick ones that we can use for lightsaber training and for public demonstrations and stuff like that. So, it is really amazing the stuff that you can make, especially if you're into the world of public performance and demonstration, once you kind of get into this stuff.
Yeah, so this is the bulb that I use, and I solder the wire to it, and then it fits perfectly in 1-inch PVC. It fits in perfectly. And I use the adhesive and retaining screws to hold everything together. And I've been using them for class, switching. I only use ones from Ultra Sabers that I have also a couple times, but since we started gathering at the park in the summer, I've been using the ones that I made. And I believe I posted the pel once I finished it. It looks a little bit crude. It still needs work, but essentially, because I need to cover everything up. Let me do this. There. That's what it looks like. So I need to cover things up. This thing here, the blade screws to it. And there's the tip that I ordered from one of the Saber supplies. So all I have to do is just screw it here in place. Like this, like so. And then inside here, this opens up. There's a weight in there, like this. And here's the switch that you can turn it on even with your foot, and it lights up. And it's basically 5 feet tall. And it lights up, and then I've struck it a few times. That's why also I added some reinforcement to it, but I need to cover it up and then probably paint this wood so it looks prettier. But yeah, that's what I've done with my time.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. I'll be interested to see how long it holds up.
Yes, that's also a part of this journey using PVC. I've found that when I do different designs like this with using different types of fittings, those tend to be more vulnerable, especially when the thinner PVC is in there and then you have two fittings coming together. Those tend to be more vulnerable than when it's just 1-inch PVC and the blade in there, and then that's it.
Yeah.
These last, but recently in the class, one of mine that had multiple fittings like this, one after the other, actually broke at that point. But it didn't break. It broke off because of fatigue, because I've been using it a lot. But it didn't break as I was striking. It broke as I primed my strike like this. It flew off.
Ah.
The piece flew off. But then when we looked at it, I say, oh, when we looked at it, this piece was intact. The blade stayed intact with the retention screw.
Yeah.
It was just the thin part of the PVC which was in there that broke off. But the other ones, the ones that are just simple, just the simple 1-inch like this, these I've been using them, and these have no problems at all, at least thus far. no problem. And of course, I have my Saber chucks that I made. There. Yeah. So yeah, I like building things
Yes.
as an engineer, you know. So
Right. So there you go. You see, you know, anybody can really do it, right? You can make it as simple or as complicated as you feel fit. That is for sure. We're going to be having lots more. I mean, with all the stuff that's happening on the Mandalorian show, with the new Obi-Wan series coming sometime soon, with all the new kind of series coming, I think this stuff, and of course with Galaxy's Edge, when people start going there and people are building their own sabers, if you have a Galaxy's Edge saber and you're watching our stuff, don't fight with those sabers. You will destroy them. You'll be very sad. They're not really meant for that. Just going out. However, they should be able to increase not only people's kind of awareness of sabers, because I mean, up till just a few years ago, not even just a few years ago, maybe even just last year, people were surprised that these exist when I would tell them what I do, even though they've been around for so long. So I think bringing them out is going to do that. Let's see if we've got any other questions here on this.
Chad, the Galaxy's Edge one.
Yes.
I have one because last year's Thanksgiving, I went to Florida to visit my sister, and we went there, and I did that. I paid for the experience, and I got the saber.
Nice.
And they are heavy. It's kind of bulky, but yeah, you can't fight with them. I haven't tried, but as soon as I held, you can't fight, but they are heavy and bulky, and the experience. I mean, whoever gets to, if you haven't gone. If you go, you need to do that experience. It's great. It's fantastic. The experience itself.
Yes. Yeah. That's pretty cool. All right. So, yeah. Okay. Well, I don't see anything else that we can answer on there. Does anybody have any final thoughts, questions for Todd or Kyle or anything kind of going forward here?
I want to ask both, things as we have them right here, both Kyle and Todd, what upcoming project they have that they're most enthusiastic about?
Well, like I said, it seems like a lot of people were wanting I already knew there'd be a huge demand on curved Ahsoka sabers. So again, I'm working on that and just trying to get at least the start of 10 sets out there. And on top of, again, some empty katanas. That's really the stuff I'm working on. Excuse me, a couple personal projects, just personal builds that trying out different techniques and different paint techniques and acid etch techniques that I'm getting ready to show off. That's about it. Not much real exciting, I guess.
I think there's some people that are excited for the Ahsokas.
What about trying out building a saber like from episode 9, the one that folds? That one.
There are a couple guys already did that. Armand Fire did that.
Yeah.
There's, I think one of the big companies has been working on those too, I believe. That was just.
Are you thinking of maybe trying it or no?
No, I didn't. I looked at it when it first came out, when I seen the movie, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a neat gimmick. I didn't have a desire to try to do it.
They didn't really even use it in the movie.
No, she just showed it off. She unlocked it and lit them up. That's all she did.
Yes.
Yep. Probably all they're good for. All right. Kyle, same question to you.
Yeah, so I brought out a couple of sabers, but this was one that I had done 3 years ago. So when we first came out with the Persuader, I really wanted to see what I could do with it, how I could modify it, how I could, change up and customize it. So this was one of our original Persuaders. Chopped off the the bottom handle and the pommel and shaved it down and added a little bit of leatherwork to there. So this is the original 6.5-inch saber that I had created. It's not deep enough for an actual all-in-one chassis design that I could set up. So everything's wired in, 3D printed. Just have a charger there, button, and the actual blade depth goes in about 2.5 inches. So that's ideally what I would like to get. So all the electronics are just packed right in here. It's not enough for a standard 18650. They have smaller versions of the same 3.7 volt battery, so I don't have to actually change any of my wiring up. Don't have to change any of my resistors up. So I have that in here. This surprisingly lasts quite a while before you need to charge. I mean, a lot of the 18650 batteries, if you go with a more higher end one, Trustfire, Sony's, they can last, pretty much an entire competition being on for about anywhere between half an hour to an hour and a half, 45 minutes, as long as you don't have sounds, just straight stunt design. So this was the original idea for creating something that was more of a offhand saber. So I'm gonna be taking this design, modifying it with the existing persuader that we have, and creating something a lot more modular. So I can create a 6.5-inch saber, or I can create an 11-inch persuader and tack on the Suba to there. Also going to be coming out with a different variations of the Subas, different variations of emitters. There's been a lot of people asking me about if I'm going to come up with different types of pommels that'll work with my design. The big thing for me though, which I don't want to take away from what a lot of other manufacturers are doing, like Vadersvolt, Saber Forge, Ultra Sabers. I like to make sure that my sabers at least have a great balance to them, that you can actually duel with them, and they still feel great. They feel like you want to pick up that weapon and fight with it. So the great thing that happened when we did the Slayer was we created that beveled edge, so you can, if you want to hold your saber right there in the middle, which a lot of people traditionally do, you can, but we also did this choke up here too. So ideally you'd want to hold your saber right up there, and that's going to be your balance, because the blade still sits, the blade actually can sit as deep as right here. So you're holding on to that piece of the blade as you're wielding that saber, which gives you a lot of that control. So that's what we want to throw into all of our designs. So it's not just coming out with a fancy pommel with a something that looks great. It's also coming out with something that can also function great too. And that's been the idea of our design. So you're going to have offhand saber, you're going to have new Subas, you're going to have new pommels, and there's also going to be a new 11-inch design that we're coming out with. Everything's going to be compatible with the all-in-one chassis system that we already have, and anything can be modified. So if people want something that's still wired up, something that people can obviously just buy an empty and customize it, they can go ahead and do that. I don't want to reinvent what a lot of companies are doing great at, and I also don't want to be competition for a lot of companies that are already doing great work. Like I see the work that Todd does, and I'm like, I don't want to mess with that, because he's already he can do great. So I'm sticking with the designs that I have, and just trying to. Sorry, my dogs are going crazy at the moment. But yeah, just trying to stick with only a few designs, and not create so much product for me. Just really stick with the designs that actually work and function great.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well,
Well, one last one.
oh yeah.
we were talking about paint and stuff and designs.
Yeah.
I was just in the process of installing. I think you saw this one when you were here last time, but Dawn just got it all painted up. I don't know how well my light is, but it's like a steel gray color Cerakote.
Yes.
Wow.
And you can see the green, it's like an olive green on the bottom piece with the slots, cube pommel and everything. This is one that I just, I built a previous version per request. I had one of my clients asked me for a slim Canon. So this is one that's almost done. I'm just putting the electronics in her.
Cool. Yeah, that's the thing, and that's one thing. But before we leave for the evening, that this everything is so out there. Like I said, we have Key Sabers and Darth Alice. You're going to get different things for different reasons. Everybody should be supporting all of these artisans and everybody out there, because we want to keep this up as we go forward. When you keep an eye out here for Forged in Kyber, because that's going to give you guys, I think, everybody out there, something to look forward to. Hopefully we can get a lot of the community involved and really bring something special out there as far as sabers and bringing people to the forefront and everything like that, because sometimes you don't know who the diamonds in the rough are, because the rough is so obscuring to your view. Anyway, so there we go. Thank you, Todd and Kyle, for joining us this evening and offering your expertise. Thanks to John, Ben, Javier, Sarah. Thanks for tuning in, everybody at home. We will be on again. I think next week is probably going to be our last show for this little series, and then we'll put out all of our stuff there. But we will be coming to you with some other content, live and otherwise, as the holidays roll around. So stay tuned for that. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us. From everybody here at Terra Prime, patience, practice, perseverance. Happy sabering.